The human brain is a network of approximately 100 billion neurons. Different experiences create different neural connections which bring about different emotions. And depending on which neurons get stimulated, certain connections become stronger and more efficient, while others may become weaker. This is what's called neuroplasticity. Someone who trains to be a musician will create stronger neural connections that link the two hemispheres of the brain in order to be musically creative. Virtually any sort of talent or skill can be created through training. Rudiger Gamm, who was a self-admitted hopeless student, used to fail at basic math and went on to train his abilities and became a famous human calculator, capable of performing extremely complex mathematics. Rationality and emotional resilience work the same way. These are neural connections that can be strengthened. Whatever you are doing at any time, you are physically modifying your brain to become better at it. Since this is such a foundational mechanism of the brain, being self-aware can greatly enrich our life experience. Specific neurons and neurotransmitters, such as norepinephrine, trigger a defensive state when we feel that our thoughts have to be protected from the influence of others. If we are then confronted with differences in opinion, the chemicals that are released in the brain are the same ones that try to ensure our survival in dangerous situations. In this defensive state, the more primitive part of the brain interferes with rational thinking, and the limbic system can knock out most of our working memory, physically causing narrow-mindedness. We see this in the politics of fear, in the strategy of poker players, or simply when someone is stubborn in a discussion. No matter how valuable an idea is, the brain has trouble processing it when it is in such a state. On a neural level, it reacts as if we're being threatened, even if this threat comes from harmless opinions or facts that we may otherwise find helpful and could rationally agree with. But when we express ourselves and our views are appreciated, these defense chemicals decrease in the brain, and dopamine neurotransmission activates the reward neurons, making us feel empowered and increasing our self-esteem. Our beliefs have a profound impact on our body chemistry. This is why placebos can be so effective. Self-esteem or self-belief is closely linked to the neurotransmitter serotonin. When the lack of it takes on severe proportions, it often leads to depression, self-destructive behavior, or even suicide. Social validation increases the levels of dopamine and serotonin in the brain and allows us to let go of emotional fixations and become self-aware more easily. Social psychology often looks at the basic human need to fit in and calls this the normative social influence. When we grow up, our moral and ethical compass is almost entirely forged by our environment, so our actions are often a result of the validation we get from society. But new developments in neuroscience are giving us a better understanding of culture and identity. Recent neurological research has confirmed the existence of empathetic mirror neurons. When we experience an emotion or perform an action, specific neurons fire. But when we observe someone else performing this action, or when we imagine it, many of the same neurons will fire again, as if we were performing the action ourselves. These empathy neurons connect us to other people, allowing us to feel what others feel. And since these neurons respond to our imagination, we can experience emotional feedback from them as if it came from someone else. This system is what allows us to self-reflect. The mirror neuron does not know the difference between it and others, and is the reason why we are so dependent of social validation and why we want to fit in. We are in a constant duality between how we see ourselves and how others see us. This can result in confusion in terms of identity and self-esteem, and brain scans show that we experience these negative emotions even before we are aware of them. But when we are self-aware, we can alter misplaced emotions because we control the thoughts that cause them. This is a neurochemical consequence of how memories become labeled when retrieved, and how they are restored through protein synthesis. Self-observing profoundly changes the way our brain works. It activates the self-regulating neocortical regions, which give us an incredible amount of control over our feelings. Every time we do this, our rationality and emotional resilience are strengthened. When we are not being self-aware, most of our thoughts and actions are impulsive. And the idea that we are randomly reacting and not making conscious choices is instinctively frustrating. The brain resolves this by creating explanations for our behavior and physically rewriting it into our memories through memory reconsolidation, making us believe that we were in control of our actions. This is also called backward rationalization, and it can leave most of our negative emotions unresolved and ready to be triggered at any time. They become a constant fuel to our confusion, as our brain will keep trying to justify why we behaved irrationally. When we use our mirror neurons to look at ourselves, we may construct the idea of identity. But if we do this with our scientific understandings, we see something completely different. The neural synergies that produce our oscillating consciousness go far beyond our own neurons. We are equally the result of cerebral hemispheres interacting electrochemically, as we are of the senses connecting our neurons to other neurons in our environment. Nothing is external. This is not a hypothetical philosophy. It is the basic property of mirror neurons, which allow us to understand ourselves through others. Seeing this neural activity as your own while excluding the environment would be a misconception. The common cultural belief has mostly been that we need a narrative, a diachronic view on our life to establish moral values. But with our current understandings of the empathic and social nature of the brain, we now know that a purely scientific view with no attachment to our identity or story yields a far more accurate, meaningful, and ethical paradigm than our anecdotal values. This is logical, since our traditional tendency to define ourselves as imaginary individualistic constants neurally wires and designs the brain towards dysfunctional cognitive processes, such as compulsive labeling and the psychological need to impose expectations. Practical labeling underpins all forms of interactions in our daily lives, but by psychologically labeling the self as internal and the environment as external, we constrain our own neurochemical processes and experience a diluted disconnection. Growth and its evolutionary side effects, such as happiness and fulfillment, are stimulated when we are not being labeled in our interactions. We may have many different views and disagree with one another in practical terms, but interactions that nevertheless accept us for who we are without judgment are neuropsychological catalysts that wire the human brain to acknowledge others and accept rationally verified belief systems without dissonance. Stimulating this type of neural activity and interaction alleviates the need for distraction or entertainment and creates cycles of constructive behavior in our environment. Sociologists have established that phenomena such as obesity and smoking, emotions and ideas spread and ripple through society in much the same way that electric signals of neurons are transferred when their activity is synchronized. Whatever the outcome, it is clear that we have entered an era where science is open to everyone. And if we can preserve unfiltered access to a neutral internet, we can test the validity of our ideas. We can enhance our imagination by making new correlations. And we can be part of the evolution of our understandings of the universe and of the mind. In quantum mechanics, we have learned to approach reality differently and see everything as probabilities instead of certainties. In a mathematical sense, anything is possible. As well as in science as in our daily lives, the extent to which we can calculate or figure out probabilities is determined by our intellectual capability to recognize patterns. The less biased we are, the clearer we can identify these patterns and base our actions on reasonable probabilities. Since it's in the very nature of our brain's left hemisphere to deny ideas that do not fit into our current paradigm, the more attached we are to a belief system, the less able we are to make conscious choices for ourselves. But by observing this process, we expand our awareness and enhance our free will. It is said that wisdom comes with age, but with openness and skepticism, the key principles of the scientific method. We don't need decades of trial and error to sort out which of our convictions may be improbable. The question is not whether our beliefs are right or wrong, but whether or not being emotionally attached to them is more or less likely going to benefit us. There is no such thing as a free choice while being emotionally attached to a belief system. The moment we are self-aware enough to realize this, we can truly work together to figure out the real odds of what will benefit us the most.
Yeah.
Granted, they're not going anywhere.
If you're getting your ideas of what the Earth, the shape of the Earth, from somebody who's a basketball player and not Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone like that, then good for you. And you go ahead and listen to Kyrie. And
but B, that's not fair. You don't know. Maybe he did listen to those guys, and maybe he listened to someone that he thinks is legit, or because there's other researchers.
Sir, let me tell you something right now. There's zero argument for the Earth being flat.
I agree.
So
me and you are on the same here.
Yeah.
But let's say he listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then some other, because there are some there are some researchers who do, for whatever reason, think the world's
they're not
flat.
researchers, they're idiots. But yeah,
I hear you, but they're scientists.
Yeah, but if Kyrie Irving believes that, then that part of his brain is dead, and he's a dummy.
I hear you.
But that's what he was saying, though. He said that he did his research, and that's the conclusion he came to.
Yeah,
so
he's an idiot.
Whoever he's listening to, that's what he's coming.
But
to.
he and the people he's listening to are dummies.
That's a Duke education.
Yeah.
One of the greatest academic schools in our nation.
You keep believing that, and that's all good. You know the science. You're a scientist. When you have time, you're probably working on.
Yeah, but B, you're not a scientist. So
so why should anyone listen?
Brennan. You're not a historian either.
Definitely don't listen to me. Definitely don't listen to me, my friend. But
we do.
But because
you can't just say if you're not a historian.
No, this is
or
very
a
no. This is very.
That's what you just said.
This is a very important distinction. Excuse me. When all of the science, when I'm an educated guy who's been alive for 50 years, and there's no scientist, and I mean there's no one who has been alive, who is even a writer, who is a scientist,
that's not true.
Who is an astronaut, who works at NASA, who would ever say that the Earth is flat. We put that to rest.
Scientist.
We put that to rest. Even when Christopher Columbus was alive, most people who are educated knew the Earth was not flat. We put this to rest.
I'm with you, brother. So when all our listeners, I'd say 99% of our listeners are with you.
When you say I don't know, you're putting me on the same level as that moron. You can't do that.
I can do that.
No, you cannot do that.
Just because you read it from someone else. How do you know him? You do not know him. You do not know what he researched.
Brendan Schaub. When an idiot says that the Earth is flat, he's an idiot. Because he's saying the Earth is flat, and that's
from his opinion, though.
His opinion is idiotic, Brendan.
When it comes to the Earth, I'm not defending him.
But you are defending him.
I'm not.
Don't put him on the same level. Let me talk. This is very important.
That's all you've been doing.
Let me talk. No, you've been talking the whole podcast. Let me talk.
Why are you so upset? Why are you so defensive?
Because I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm tired of this.
You don't do this with Eddie Bravo.
I'm tired of this because because it would get ugly. I am tired of this Alex Jones stuff. I am tired of, I was thinking about this at 50 years old. I'm tired of, I'm not going to try to be liked anymore because I think there's such ignorance in the world, starting with Donald Trump, who's calling all the news fake, I'm not a fan of a lot of the media, but I am so sick and tired of all these people with all their misinformed points of view, where they are just completely bucking eons of history and knowledge that's been earned. There is scientific knowledge like vaccines, antibiotics, like the Earth being round. These things have been earned over hundreds of years. And by the way, we all benefit every single day from science that has been earned, that has been experimented on, that has been proved. For example, the science that goes into your phone, the science that goes into giving you fresh vegetables and food in the wintertime, the science that gives you life-saving drugs, whether you have Hodgkin's lymphoma or you have an infection. These are the things that we benefit from every single day. They are empirically proven, meaning that they are measured from independent lines of inquiry. And all of a sudden with the internet, you have these cuckoo birds who come out and start talking about the Earth being flat. They start coming out and talking about how there are these giant rings of globalist pedophiles who are controlling the strings, and this virtuous guy named Donald Trump is coming along and saving the day. When you have the benefit of spending a lot of time being educated and seeing and understanding how patterns emerge and studying history and seeing how bad ideas come about and kill people. That's what happens. People die when the wrong ideas win the day. That's really what happens. And people get hurt. And when you stop vaccinating your children blanketly, because you don't trust anything about the pharmaceutical companies, and you don't know how they're evil, you don't know how to distinguish between how they are evil, why they're evil, but you just blanket them and say they're all liars, the way Eddie Bravo does. What happens is you get kids who don't get vaccinated. You get kids who start getting measles. My child, who doesn't develop herd immunity because the vaccine doesn't take, can get measles. It just goes on and on. And when bad ideas win the day, it is destructive. It is dangerous. That's why I get passionate. That's why I get mad when anybody says that Kyrie Irving has a point when he says the earth is flat.
Never said he had a point. You done?
But why
Never
are
said
you?
he had a point.
But why are you even saying that we should even be saying that his opinion should be respected?
It's not you don't have to respect them. You barely know who he is. I'm saying if he says the earth's flat under my research, I don't give a fuck. He's not a researcher, but you can't call him a dummy. You don't even know the guy.
Of course I can.
KB.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It'd be like saying, Brennan, watch this. It's literally the equivalent of me saying, you know that some humans can fly, right? Like they have wings. I've looked at the science.
See, if you said that, I wouldn't call you a dummy. I'd laugh at you.
Well,
like you're
okay, so I'll just laugh at him.
That's fine.
I don't think he may not be a dummy across the board, but at a certain, like, intelligence is compartmentalized, right?
I would say that's ridiculous that he said that.
Thank you.
I would not say Kyrie Irving is a dummy. I'd say that's so silly.
I would say
he could be trolling.
Yes. So in other words, it's a dumb thing.
Now is he Tyson, whatever the fuck?
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
No, he's not. He's definitely not.
If he's serious, it would be a dumb thing to say.
But if all we do is if people with opinions who aren't research are dummies, we're all fucked. We shouldn't listen to anything you just said.
That's not true. That's what I was just arguing. It's not true because we do know some things are true. We do know some things are true.
I know,
right?
I know.
And the reason we know those is because they've been experimented on, but more importantly, we live in a world and we benefit from them, right? We all do.
But remember, just 20 minutes ago, you're saying how great is that the internet's the wild, wild west. Right. This is one of the
I wouldn't censor him. I'm not calling for censorship. What I'm saying is that if he's serious, and all these flat Earth people are actually kind of crazy.
I don't think it's flat Earth. That's not a real move. It's not like a real movement.
It kind of is.
I only hear from Eddie Bravo, and this is the first I've heard of it. Other than that, I don't think you need to go on a tirade and educate everyone on history. And
I'm not doing that, Brennan. I'm saying you can't put my opinion on the same level as this fucking guy when he says the earth is flat. I'm
saying we got to be careful who we call dummies just because he's not a researcher, because you're not a researcher.
And I'm going to say to you, I don't have to be a researcher to know that some things are true and some things are false.
I agree.
Okay. And I'm also going to say to you that
that's my point.
If you're going to get on to announce to the world that the earth is flat and I know the science and you're not trolling and you're serious, then I'm going to say you're dummy.
We don't know if he's serious though.
Exactly. But if he is, then you're a bit of a dummy, and I can't listen to you about anything other than basketball, I would imagine at this point. Or take responsibility for people like me saying you're a fucking idiot.
Which I think he is, because you can see it says Kyrie finds the reactions hilarious.
Oh, there you go. All right.
There you go.
Then that's fine. But we do have, but listen, what I'm mad about is that we have a lot of bullshit on the internet. I think you need to do this in front of
someone who believes this, because when Eddie Bravo's around, you don't say shit.
Because I don't think it would, I like Eddie too much.
Why not have a debate, though?
Because you can't debate Eddie. You know that. Because Eddie would never listen to what I'm saying. Eddie, and I don't want to do that to Eddie.
Because you're talking like it's this
I don't think
massive
that the fight companion.
movement.
Well, when Alex Jones gets 60 million downloads, I get very worried when the Sandy Hook parents get harassed and get hate that
those
they're
would be
lying.
The trolls.
I get very offended. I get very offended when I listen to that podcast with Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo and Alex Jones talking about this stuff.
But you're around. You're around. I would say it's a movement.
Well, I think when you have that many people listening, I worry. Listening. When I have a president of the United States saying that it's fake news, when the FBI and the CIA says, "Hey, man, by the way, we just got these intercepts. The conversations that Flynn had and what he relayed to the vice president were not actually true. There's some discrepancies." Now, that's just a fact that the FBI and the CIA and the intelligence agencies give to the White House. They give it to the White House counsel. Well, now what happens is you get the president who doesn't acknowledge that and says it's all fake news. I get worried because Alex Jones says it's fake news. And now you got a lot of people saying it's fake news, and we're not listening to this guy who believes he's a king up there. So for me, I start seeing history and I get nervous and I get worried. I'm very nervous. How many people do you know that I dislike? You always make fun of me because I like everybody. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, don't I?
Besides Trump, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. No, I don't mind Kyrie Irving. I don't like, if I don't like somebody, I think he's a clear and present danger. I'm that dramatic.
You like some morons.
I do.
Some actual dummies.
And if I dislike somebody,
you call
I got
Kyrie
some good
a dummy,
reasons.
I'm like, well,
I don't know. I have no idea. He's not relevant.
Yeah.
Trump is very relevant to us.
Super relevant.
Yeah. And so
hey, that's your president.
It's my president.
It's President's Day, so watch your fucking
I like that
mouth.
you kept doing that to your dad, where your dad was like, Trump, and you're like, oh, excuse me,
Mr.
President-elect Trump.
President-elect.
He's like, no, it's Trump. No, it's President-elect Trump.
I hear you, B. I don't think it's that big of a movement. I mean, the educated people and the people in colleges, it's the same thing with, like, I was thinking about this the other day with Scientology. Like, Scientology got big because they weren't allowed to go on the internet. They pulled them from schools. They had no education. It's going to be tough press to find someone to sign up for Scientology now. It's just,
true.
It's out. It's out. Everyone knows what's going on. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
ODD-TV.
From the earliest known depictions of the Earth, it's always been flat and enclosed by a dome. The Egyptians, Norse, Hindus, Mayans, Incas, Navajos, Hebrews, etc. all knew that the Earth is flat and covered by the firmament, which is basically an impenetrable barrier encapsulating the flat plane. The flat Earth model dominated for thousands of years. It wasn't until 1543 that Nicholas Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model of the universe. But even with that, flat earthers and the flat Earth model still went strong all the way up into the 1900s. We see proof of that with books like Zetetic Cosmogony by Thomas Winship, published in 1899, Terra Firma, The Earth Not a Planet, proved from Scripture, Reason, and Fact by David Wardlaw Scott, published in 1901, or even Kings Dethroned by Gerard Hickson, published in 1922, where the author details all of the problems with heliocentrism and the mistakes made by people like Copernicus, Einstein, Newton, Kepler, etc. So we see from the beginning of time all the way until the 1900s, the flattened stationary Earth was going strong. In all honesty, flat Earth has never died. But for the sake of this video, we'll say up into the early and mid-1900s. In a magazine from August 1931 called Popular Science, explorer Auguste Piccard went on record stating, "It seemed a flat disk with an upturned edge after ascending 10 miles high on a balloon." 10 miles is only a little over 50,000 feet. Today we have balloons going up to 121,000 plus feet, which is almost 23 miles, and the Earth still shows nothing but flatness. Not to mention the horizon remains at eye level at that height, something that would not be possible if the Earth was a sphere. Mainstream science says that curvature becomes visible at 35,000 feet. It simply is not so. Now let's run through another timeline, the timeline of trying to hide the flat Earth. Now we're gonna exclude Copernicus here. We know that heliocentrism, spinning ball Earth, has been pushed since the 1500s, but it wasn't until the 1900s that moves were made to hide the true shape and nature of the Earth. In fact, they started programming us in 1912, before Earth's shape was even proven, supposedly. With the founding of Universal Pictures, we have been shown a spinning globe before every movie by that company for over 100 years. But anyway, that started in 1912, and we kept cruising, and in 1946, we have Operation High Jump, where an expedition to Antarctica was led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. They say they went to Antarctica to train, test equipment, and test the possibilities of establishing and maintaining military research bases. They claim to have charted the Antarctic coastline during this time. Who knows what else they found? Fast forward a little bit. 1955, Operation Deep Freeze. This is just an expansion of High Jump, where more research bases are added to Antarctica. Fast forward a little more, 1958. NASA is established, followed by the proposal of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and the implementation of it in 1961. The treaty basically puts Antarctica off limits to civilians, with the exception of guided tours that are carefully supervised. In 1962, Operation Fishbowl takes place. Now this is where people start thinking that they found the firmament or dome during Operation High Jump or Operation Deep Freeze, because for some reason, they started firing nuclear missiles straight up as if trying to mess with the firmament somehow. And not to mention the name of the project, Fishbowl, easily symbolic for the enclosed nature of our world. A lot of people don't believe in nukes, nuclear weapons, but I obviously can't confirm one way or the other. Just do your own research. Okay, so the same year, 1962, JFK gives his famous "We choose to go to the moon" speech. Now, I think all of these events tie into these guys finding out about the true disposition of Earth, including the crystalline canopy that we can't get past. Keep that in mind. They know we are trapped in and we can't leave. And they choose to pretend like we can leave, which comes back and bites them in the ass later. We'll get there, but let's continue. 4 years later, 1966, Lunar Orbiter 1 captures the supposed first ever picture of Earth from deep space. 2 years after that, in 1968, Apollo 8 captures this. In 1969, they capture this after Apollo 11 lands man on the moon for the very first time. And in 1972, on their sixth and final trip to the moon, we get one of the most famous pictures of all time, the blue marble. These alleged pictures of Earth, especially 1972's blue marble, are the entire reason behind pretending to go to the moon in the first place. The spherical Earth, flat Earth debate is over. All the ancient cultures of the world and all of the authors writing flat Earth books well into the 1900s are incorrect. The Earth is not flat. NASA has proved it. It's over. You live on a spinning ball, just like Universal Pictures predicted. Only one problem with that. It's now 2017. Curvature cannot be detected by anyone on Earth. Motion can't be detected, nor has it ever been proven, and now all of a sudden we can't figure out how to get past low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
I think and many would consider it maybe even science fiction.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. So we'll say that we can't get past 1,200 miles, and that's a big problem because the moon, according to the heliocentric model, is about 237,000 miles away. Now that's a big difference. Why was it so easy to go to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972, but we can't go even 1% of that distance now in 2017? Yeah, 1%. We can't even go 1% of that distance. Of course, they blame it on the idea of a radiation belt, but the truth is that the Van Allen belt is a cover story for the firmament. We live on a flat plane inside of an enclosed structure. It has always been this way, and it will always be this way. The ridiculous notion of us living on a spinning ball darting through infinite space is very new on the complete timeline of mankind. And at the rate things are going, it won't be around much longer. The deception of heliocentrism will have been a very short-lived attempt at removing man from his and her divine nature. This is ODD TV. Thanks for watching.
Mr. President, I'm Bill Nye, CEO of the Planetary Society, the world's largest non-governmental space interest organization. We're a nonpartisan organization funded by over 50,000 members, people around the world with different political beliefs who are united in their support for space science and exploration. Ever since it was created, NASA has had bipartisan support. You have the opportunity to provide clear direction to our nation's space program. The advances and discoveries made on your watch could be historic. As you consider NASA's direction and its new leadership team, the Planetary Society's Board of Directors and I would like to offer 5 recommendations for the United States space program during your tenure. Number 1, keep the planet Mars as the goal for human space exploration. We strongly recommend against starting over. Let's maintain all of the existing programs, robotic missions, crew capsules, and rocket programs already in development. Let's keep this momentum going and get humans to Mars in our lifetimes. Number 2, orbit Mars first. We convened a workshop with over 70 of the world's spaceflight experts to study an affordable, executable set of space missions that would put humans in orbit around Mars in the year 2033. Then 2 or more years later, we would land the first humans there. This is the same way we explored the moon. Apollo 8 orbited the moon before Apollo 11 landed there. An independent evaluation found this plan for Mars to be technically feasible and affordable, needing only small budget increases to match inflation. Major aerospace industries and other NASA centers have studied similar plans for this sustainable, focused approach. We could get humans to Mars in just 15 years if we commit now and for the long term. Number 3, strengthen NASA science. NASA has 4 science divisions that explore the deep cosmos, our solar system, the sun, and our home planet Earth. NASA engineers and technicians build and launch robotic spacecraft that support tens of thousands of American jobs in engineering, precision manufacturing, and science. I urge you to embrace the full potential of all of NASA's science programs so they can continue to lead the world in science, technology, and exploration. Number 4, embrace commercial space. The ambitions and capabilities of private space companies have grown substantially in the past decade. Let's unleash private investment in low Earth orbit and find ways to encourage this next generation of entrepreneurs and inventors to blaze a trail to Mars and beyond. There's a new movement for space happening today. Let's keep it going. Number 5, 5 over 5. Here's what I'm talking about. Our citizens expect so much of NASA. The organization is often asked to do a lot with not quite enough. We recommend that you propose a 5% boost to NASA's budget every year for the next 5 years, 5 over 5. These small increases would give NASA the resources necessary to achieve its goals. This is money that gets spent on Earth in the United States and supports tens of thousands of jobs across the country. Without these budget increases, NASA won't have the ability to send humans anywhere. Not to the moon, not to Mars, not anywhere. In Congress, there is bipartisan support for increasing NASA's budget. Your administration has the opportunity to lead by taking this critical first step. Mr. President, I would be pleased to discuss these recommendations with you the vice president, or members of your staff in person. Since we were founded in 1980, the Planetary Society has worked with both parties to advance space science and exploration. For decades, our members have supported the mission to Pluto that became New Horizons. We support the missions to Mars, including Sojourner, Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and the upcoming Mars 2020 rover. We recently helped NASA begin work on a new mission, the Europa Clipper, to explore the ocean moon of Jupiter that may harbor life. We support the space telescopes, Kepler, Spitzer, Hubble, and Webb. Next time you visit the halls of Congress, take pride in the space images that hang on office walls. Space brings out the best in us. There are two questions deep within each of us. Where did we come from? And are we alone in the universe? To answer these questions, we have to explore space. Historic discoveries await us. With your leadership, we may find life elsewhere in the cosmos, get humans on the Martian surface, and witness the opening of a new marketplace in space. Thank you for considering our recommendations. The Planetary Society urges you to embrace NASA's potential and make investments that will advance space science and exploration for all humankind. Thank you. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
I think, and many would consider it maybe even science fiction.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. So we'll say that we can't get past 1,200 miles, and that's a big problem because the moon, according to the heliocentric model, is about 237,000 miles away. Now that's a big difference. Why was it so easy to go to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972, but we can't go even 1% of that distance now in 2017? About 2 years ago, in late 2014, early 2015, I was exposed to the flat earth theory. Though at the time I was intrigued by the idea, I still thought it was impossible. I kept looking at it anyway. Some things I laughed at, some things made me think to myself, that actually makes sense. So from January 2015 to October 2015, it became an everyday thing for me to wake up, get my coffee, and then sit down and look at the flat earth theory. At least that's what I used to call it, flat earth theory. After 10 months of examining the information available and also figuring out other things on my own, it became quite clear that the flat earth is the truth. Do we know the exact layout of the flat earth? No. But I still believe that the Gleason's map is possibly the real deal, but I'm not certain. One thing I know for sure is that no one has debunked it. It's only been denied by people who can't adequately show why it doesn't work. To me, it makes sense that Gleason's map is accurate because it easily converts into the globe model, and that's how this deception started. They just turned the accurate flat map into a globe and said, this is where you live. And many people say the Gleason's map is just a flat representation of the globe, which is wrong. If you look at the bottom corners of the map, it clearly states that the sun moves in circles around the tropics, meaning that the creator of the map knew that the earth didn't move. But also, Alexander Gleason wrote a book called Is the Bible from Heaven? Is the Earth a Globe? And you can easily see for yourself in the book that he is a flat earther. Now the thing is that his map wasn't released until 1892, but the flat earth map, now called the azimuthal equidistant map, has been around since about the year 1000. Possibly earlier. That's older than the oldest known globe on Earth, which comes from 1492. And that's actually around the time that this whole deception started. It was during the lifetime of Copernicus and around the time of the creation of the Jesuits. We don't know all the exact details because we know that history has been rewritten time and time again to benefit those who have put themselves in charge. But if you are honest with yourself, you can see clearly that this heliocentric globe Earth deception began around 500 years ago. Anyway, back to the maps. Let's just say for a minute that flat earthers don't have a good map. Well, either do globe earthers. Check this out.
How many of you have ever seen a map that looked like this before? How many of you have ever seen this map?
Seen that map.
Yeah. Isn't this the map that you use K through 16 in the United States of America? Now, folks, look at this map. According to your social studies teacher, what is the equator?
Right.
An imaginary line where?
Yeah.
Around the center of the Earth. Then if this map is correct, then the equator must be here, and Chicago has a tropical climate. Now, folks, this is the map that we use in the schools. Look where the United States is, in the middle of the world, right? Now, here's the USSR, which is no more, of course, Mongolia, China, Africa, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Now, look over here. USSR, Mongolia, China, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Two Indias here. We have two Indias. Did you know that? Now, people, this is a flat-out lie. Look at the size of Greenland and the size of South America. According to your social studies teachers, what were continents? Largest land masses on the face of the Earth, right? Now, do you know the continents? Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, Europe, North America, and South America. Did I say Greenland? Well, Greenland isn't a continent, but it's a huge landmass according to this map, right? The map is a flat-out lie, people. If you read the legend on the map, here it says, in fact, South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes.
Here we have Europe, drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked.
Not only things like that, But NASA can't even make the same layout twice for some reason. Notice in these official NASA images that the layout of the Earth is never the same. In 2002, North America is this size. In 2012, it's this size. And in 2015, it's yet again a totally different size than both of those. But the fact of the matter is, none of these pictures are real anyway. NASA employee Rob Simon has gone on record saying that the Earth is photoshopped because it has to be.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space.
Now, why don't we have any pictures of the Earth? It's 2017, and you think this is normal? Maybe because we can't leave the Earth, just like in the flat Earth model, which has a sky barrier known as the firmament or the dome? NASA tries to be clever and say that we can't leave the Earth due to the Van Allen radiation belt.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
But if you're smart, you know that this is a cover for the dome. We can't leave Earth, people. I mean, Bill Nye the Science Guy even tells you this straight up.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
And you still argue otherwise. Not that we need Bill Nye to figure this out, because we don't. He's a paid-for liar. But they put the truth out so later when it becomes too much to bear, they can just say, well, we've been telling you the whole time. But you act like you don't hear it, and you just make excuses for why they say these things, and it's ridiculous. You can observe for yourself that water does not curve. And this is funny. People will say that raindrops prove that water does curve. But have you ever seen a gallon of water in the form of a sphere? Let alone 326 quintillion gallons of water? Well, at least that's how much water they tell us is on Earth. Should we believe them? Probably not. But we do know that it's a lot of water. Either way, you've never seen any experiment show that a good amount of water can curve or take the shape of a sphere. So your raindrop argument doesn't work. If you actually take the time to look into the flat Earth and all of its angles, it becomes 100% crystal clear that we do not live on a spinning ball flying through infinite space. Some folks say that it would be impossible to be nighttime and daytime on a flat Earth at the same time. But if you actually looked, then you would know that it's completely possible, because the sun is closer and smaller. Here's a video from an Alaskan cruise.
You probably wouldn't believe this if we didn't show you. Here's out our balcony. It's about 10 o'clock at night. It's almost dark. It's amazing. You can see the moon shining and reflecting brilliantly on the water. But then as you pan to the left, it's actually still daylight over here. And the sunset. Look at that beauty. And it won't ever completely settle over there. It will stay light actually the whole night. But over here, the moon rising out of there.
It's day and night at the same time, just in that area alone. Of course it would be possible on a bigger scale. Now this brings me to the division that Flat Earth has caused among the so-called truth community. A lot of people that suffer heavily from cognitive dissonance say that the Flat Earth information is a psyop and it only serves to divide us and discredit those of us that see the information as correct. But this is not true. It's only an excuse for cowards that are scared of the information for one reason or another. Some people don't want to accept the flat earth because of the implications of a creator. Some people can't accept it because of the mental conditioning coming from schools and television that they have been dealing with their whole life. Whatever the reason, I can understand up to a certain extent, but if you have really dove into the flat earth info, and I mean really dove into it, like you let go of your preconceived notions of what the earth is and you examined it unbiasedly, there's no way that you would come back thinking that the earth is a spinning ball. You may come to the conclusion that you honestly just don't know, or you may be 100% sure that the earth is indeed flat, but you would never accept the heliocentric model of the universe after genuinely looking into the flat earth for a good amount of time, which leads me to my next point about the division that flat earth has caused, because it has caused division. What the flat earth has done is divide the real truth seekers from the run-of-the-mill people that don't know the truth when it slaps them in the face. The flat earthers that I interact with are the most logical, down-to-earth people that I know, and they have amazing sense and excellent intuition. Don't get me wrong, there are people that are imitating flat earthers, and they pretend to be absolutely batshit crazy in order to discredit the flat earth, and there's most likely genuinely crazy people that are flat earthers. Or at least they come off as crazy, so it's not good for the flat earth cause. But that's to be expected. There's some very crazy people in this world, flat earthers or not. So anyway, what gets me is people that claim flat earth is a complete psyop and it's bullshit, like Zachary K. Hubbard, for instance. The dude hates flat earth so much and thinks it's stupid that we debate the shape of the earth while it's quote unquote on fire.
The flat earth theory, which has been pushed on the truth community for going on 2 years, is a psychological operations that has 3 purposes. To distract us from things that are important. For example, we live on Earth. It doesn't matter what shape Earth is on fire. And for all of you who've made it your priority to argue what shape the Earth is while the Earth is on fire, just think about what you're doing.
Why are we debating the earth while the earth is on fire, he says. Yet he has no problem making videos about what he eats for breakfast.
Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. A lot of people ask me, what do I eat for breakfast? I'm a routine guy. I eat the same thing almost every single day, and this is just how I make it. I normally have oatmeal and tea for breakfast. I don't use instant oats, I use regular oats, but I make it just like this. I just pour hot water straight from the teapot.
Got your results back. And, I'm sorry, but the test was positive. You're a basic bitch.
The guy has to be one of the biggest idiots on YouTube, and he has been caught lying several times. Yes, I gave him a shout in my Pizzagate video, but that's before I even started watching him. I mean, that was the only video I seen from him at that point was one Pizzagate video. And I thought the information was good. But his channel is about how sports are rigged, and you can tell by using gematria on the games, dates, players, and whatnot. But he has never had it right anyway. He had the Giants and the Colts for this year's Super Bowl based on that information, and well, neither of them are even in the running anymore. But that's when he picks more teams and plays like that's what he was saying the whole time. He does it all the time, each and every time. Sorry, I'm getting a little carried away on Zach. But he's the perfect example of a fake-ass truth seeker, and he only serves as confirmation bias for others that don't want nothing to do with flat earth for whatever reason. And I'll give you another example. What is Real is a YouTube channel that doesn't like flat earth. I've spoke with him before, and he just can't accept it. He says he hates it. Here he is on one of Zachary's videos expressing how the flat earth makes him sick. First off, emotions don't have a place in the truth movement. Second, when anyone makes an anti-flat earth video, he's on it, ready to support, because it's reinforcing his belief in the spinning ball earth, which is all he wants to hear. He wants to hear what he already believes. He doesn't want to hear the truth. He doesn't want to accept the truth, not what the actual truth is. Now, people like that don't belong in the truth movement. Therefore, the division is okay by me. Flat Earth has given me good reason to pay attention to people. It's simple, really. If they are flat earthers, then they have the ability to overcome cognitive dissonance. Therefore, they are sincere in their pursuit of truth. Not all flat earthers, though, because some are obvious shills. But also, you don't have to be a flat earther for me to take you seriously. It's just that flat earthers and ball earth skeptics that admit they don't know have more credibility because flat earth is the truth. But I can't be mad at anybody who hasn't taken the time to look at flat earth. It's when you have looked at it and you conclude that it's bullshit is when I have a problem with someone or I stop paying attention to someone. There's no use in me wasting my time on someone that can't even admit the truth to themselves. That's how I see it. Flat Earth has been everything but proven 100%. But what do you expect? There's a 500-year and running conspiracy to hide the truth from us. It's not like it's supposed to be extremely easy to figure out. That's the whole point with truth-seeking. People have covered up the truth, and we are trying to uncover it. It's not supposed to be a piece of cake. So leave your ego behind if you're really about the truth. Because this is bigger than all of us. It's not about me. It's not about Eric Dubé. It's not about Jeranism. It's not about who found it first or whatnot. It's about the truth and getting it across to people in the most successful way possible. And that's it. All I want is to see people wake up and take their power back. At least take their minds back. That's where the power is. That's what they have done to us. They've taken our minds. The flat earth truth does away with all of the mind control. It does away with the bogus theory of evolution. It does away with the dinosaur deception. It does away with the lie that there are aliens out there. And though we still end up with more questions than answers, our minds are freed. And that's how real change is going to happen in this world of ours. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been ODD TV, and I'm out.
Kyrie is my little brother. He's my all-star point guard, superstar point guard, and if he decides he wants to say the earth is flat, then so be it. So he's an interesting guy, man. And, he believes it. So Kyrie, the earth is flat, right? Yeah. So whatever.
That's news.
That's news. There we go.
Beautiful day, chilling with my friend Jimmy over here. Did you know that the earth is flat? Hey, did you guys know that the earth is flat? It's true. Google search. Look with your eyes. They've been lying. It's true. Hey, did you guys know that the earth is flat? True, they've been lying. Promise, Google search. Look with your eyes. Don't trust them. About the flat earth.
Flat earth.
Earth is flat.
Yeah, you got it right.
I knew he would know. Hey, who else is down?
I don't know.
Don't trust him. Google search. Look with your eyes. That's all I gotta say. Thank you. Hey, y'all. Did you know that the earth is flat? The earth is flat. Look it up. Google search.
I don't have my costume on, or do I?
Did you know that the earth is flat?
Yeah.
I knew you would know, right? He looks like the type nose. Like that, baby. Did you know that the earth is flat?
No.
It's true. They've been lying.
Really?
We've done our research. Oh. So the word. Hey, did you guys know that the earth is flat? No, it is. Google search it and look at your eyes. Did you know that the Earth is flat? No. The Earth is flat. Did you know that the Earth is flat? Hey man, did you know that the Earth is flat?
Oh yeah, a little bit. I know a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I always gotta have flat before we get fix the shit.
Did you guys know that the Earth is flat? It's not. Check it out. You might change your mind. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
You too.
Alright.
It's flat. The Earth is flat. It's flat. It's flat. Huh? The Earth is flat.
There's what?
The Earth is flat.
Okay.
Keep up the good music. Money in it.
A strange message on Mount Rubidoux. The words "Google Flat Earth" were found carved into the riverside hill in letters that were 10 feet long. Police talked to the person who did it. He's not facing charges yet. Crews reseeded the area so the grass will grow and cover it all up. One possible explanation of the message: some still believe the world is flat, not round, and post about it online. It's called the Flat Earth Conspiracy Theory, but police are not saying whether that's what the hillside message is all about.
We don't have time, 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 we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We don't have time, 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 we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
I'll talk to him, I'll tell him different stuff. He don't care. You tell him the Earth's flat, he don't care. Tell him space don't exist, he don't care.
All this is for daring to question the things that we are all told we cannot question, and for asking for evidence from the people who claim they used the scientific method to reach their far-fetched facts. All of those researchers who have gone out and tried to research things for themselves, who have tried to test and find proofs, all have been met with an unfathomable amount of hate, ridicule, shaming, name-calling, threats, and much, much more, simply because they question the globe. To question the truth should be welcomed. Why would anyone get upset because you questioned the accepted facts and figures? Well, welcome to the world of Flat Earth. What Flat Earth has done in 2 years has caused more people to read and research and test, not to mention to appreciate the world where we all live, than science has done in the previous 10 years combined. And while the comment section below will be riddled with name-calling, moron, idiot, fool, don't procreate, etc., please understand that these are just people doing science, and for some reason, science has a problem with that. So, while those who hate anyone who questions what they already swear is the truth do absolutely nothing to better humanity, those of us who do care about others are trying to expose the biggest lie in the history of mankind. Not for personal gain, not for fame and fortune, not for millions of dollars, but simply because they want everyone to at the very least get a chance to research the accusations we are making. Instead of the scientific community testing, or explaining or sharing the ways we know the things to be true, we are laughed at, ridiculed, and given Dumb of the Year awards. Pretty convenient. Every day that passes, NASA gets another $50 million, and science continues their research with faulty foundations and untrue axioms. Yet still, rather than join us in simply asking for evidence of some of science's more grandiose claims, those who you'll see in the comments below will swear by it, defend it, and not with science and proof, but with name-calling and hate. Science must be testable, and it must be falsifiable. So I challenge you to go back 500 years and track the science behind astronomy and cosmology. Track the scientific tests and find the proof that Earth spins. Find the test that says we are 93 million miles away from the Sun. Find the test that shows that we orbit the Sun. Find the proof that the Big Bang took place, and find the proof that we are not sitting dead smack in the center of the universe. What were their observations, and did they make decisions based on those observations? Or did they make decisions based on philosophical criteria. Science? Philosophical criteria? Yes, we're told that science uses the scientific method, and that all our so-called truths have passed through these steps and tests. But if you do the research, you may just reach the conclusion that many of us already have. Let's listen to some of those conclusions.
Do you know the truth can unlock the shackles of your mind? I've been lied to the whole of my life. I should be really angry about it, but instead I feel quite liberated by this information. The earth is flat. Get used to it, people. Do the research. This is your wake-up call.
The sun is not 93 million miles away.
The moon does not reflect the sun's light, it is self-luminescent.
There is no outer space, no galaxies, no aliens, and no gravity.
The earth is not a spinning ball.
And NASA is full of shit.
The earth is flat!
There's no curvature. Where's the curvature?
Nobody landed on the moon. Space is fake. The sun is not a million miles away. We live on a flat earth, not a spinning globe. NASA is a scam.
NASA lies and the earth is flat.
Superior mirage, really? The earth is flat. Freemasons are lying.
It's time to let go of the spinning ball.
We have never been to the moon. We couldn't go then, and we can't go now.
Oops, the 1,000-mile rotation made me fall.
NASA's a fraud, space is fake, and the earth is flat.
Have you ever been to Pluto? Don't go. It's a Mickey Mouse planet. Oh, and by the way, the earth is flat.
God won't be hidden. The world is flat. He wants you all to know it.
The earth is flat.
That sun is not 93 million miles away.
It's safe to believe the earth is flat.
Kevin, is the earth a globe?
The earth is flat and NASA lies.
The earth is flat. I shall eat my hat. Oh, I haven't got a hat. I'll have to eat the cat. Of course it's flat.
Does it bother you? Because it bothers me too. You're not alone.
The earth is flat.
Gravity abducted the ball.
Don't be afraid to question all you've been taught. I think you're going to find out for yourself that the earth is flat.
And Chris Kemp here from Beaufort, South Carolina. I laid out the globe according to NASA's dimensions in AutoCAD 2016, and it's just not possible, my friends, because of sight distances.
We've never been to space. Earth is flat. It's a flat plane, and space is fake.
Konbawa, Baked Waters.
Hi, I'm Grant.
I believe the earth is flat. Geocentric love.
What is this? What is this? Is that a model of the flat geocentric earth?
Earth is not a planet spinning in space. Earth is a stationary, flat plane and the center of God's creation.
Greetings from Germany. The earth is flat.
Yeah, the earth is flat. There's no doubt about it.
Then the sun is not 93 million miles away.
The globe Earth spins in theory. The flat Earth rests on fact.
The earth is flat.
Check out the facts. The earth is flat.
Thinks that the earth is pear-shaped. No, the earth is flat.
La tierra es plana. The earth is flat.
earth is flat because of what you have done. The heavens have become a part of man's world.
We know the earth is flat, but the secret's getting out.
It's flat.
There's a firmament.
It's flat.
Guys, I think I found the curvature in the earth.
La tierra es plana, simile Plosca. La terra è plate, a terra è plana. Die Tür Die Erde Sataha. Die Erde ist eine Scheibe. Ich gebe des. The earth is flat.
The earth is flat on top of the world.
Like a 360 and no curve.
I truly believe the earth is flat.
NASA never went anywhere except possibly Uranus is the only thing I'd like.
Hey Zeke, say the earth is flat.
The earth is whatever the Bible says the earth is. And I sure don't see any evidence in the Bible about it being a sphere.
With all the empirical evidence and after months of research, I'm 125% sure our Earth is flat.
Can you talk to yourself?
The earth is flat.
Flat? No, really, it is.
It is what?
Flat.
There's no spinning ball, and there's no U.S. flags on the moon.
The earth is flat, and that's the flat out truth.
There is no water on Mars.
I'd say that it is 100% definitely flat. I've been imagining it for years, and we all knew.
The earth is flat.
And the sun and the moon are the same size.
The earth is not the globe, it is flat like my arm.
I began to open my mind about 10 years ago and question things. And as I pulled on that thread, it finally led me to question the globe model. And I am really wondering if the earth is really flat. And as I search and looked into it, I'm finding it to be so.
Space is fake.
Hello, I'm Darren Ryan. I've done the research and I believe that the earth is flat.
People, wake up.
Use your own mind.
The earth is flat.
Look around with your own eyes.
The earth is flat. It does not move.
The earth is flat. My school books say the earth is round, but I think it's flat.
No one's ever been to the moon. NASA has been lying to us. The earth is flat.
The earth is flat. Definitely flat.
The earth is not a globe that can be proven by no curvature. So what is it? It is flat.
Earth is not spinning. Earth is flat.
The earth is
flat.
As a
Matt.
under a
Cat.
Yo, Jared, the earth is flat. It's always been flat. It will remain flat. It took them, the elites, 500 years to get everybody to believe it's a ball. It's going to take you less than 5 to get everybody back to the truth. It being flat. There's no satellites up there. The stars aren't trillions of miles away that people can't really even comprehend. The planets aren't as big as they say they are. They're wandering stars, like the Bible says. And it's the truth. And you are speaking truth. And keep up the good work, bud.
The earth is not a ball.
I hereby declare that the world is flat and we never went to the moon. End of story.
Hello. So yes, I'm with you. Earth is flat.
The earth appears to be flat. It's all about fake space, no Hubble.
The earth is flat, and I am not an actor.
I'm from Mexico.
Earth is flat and not spinning.
Man, to all you non-believers out there, get with reality, dog. Flat Earth ain't a theory, homie. It's your reality.
The Earth is flat. It doesn't move. It can be proved.
I reject the lies of NASA and the false doctrine of heliocentrism.
Did you know that almost every scholar that has promoted a globe Earth has been a Freemason, and that rockets level out and NASA is a hoax because the Earth is flat?
Peanut butter and banana. It's simple. It works. Just like the flat Earth.
To say that NASA's bullcrap would be a compliment, because at least you can do something with bullcrap that's useful. The Earth is flat.
Hello, Jeranism and NISA. This is Wake the Sheeple 2015. Just letting everybody know, the Earth is flat.
I saw the Chicago skyline from the top of a sand dune from Michigan. My whole family saw it. I came home and Googled it. Now I'm not a ball earther anymore.
I've traveled half the Earth at least. Been on civilian and military flights. And I've always noticed that the higher we go in altitude, the straighter the horizon line becomes, strangely enough. So, until I'm shown proof, undeniable, irrefutable, unquestionable proof as to the shape of the Earth. And I'm not talking about cartoon pictures and CGI images and composite images. I'm talking about the real deal. So until that day comes, until that moment arrives, I'm going to tell you without hesitation. The Earth is flat. Flat as a pancake. The Earth is flat.
Since 9/11, on Monday morning, in Newcastle, Australia. Looks pretty flat to me. What do you reckon? Flat.
I think there is a great possibility the Earth is flat and space doesn't exist.
The Earth is not a spinning ball.
Space is fake.
It's light years, but sights are near. It's planets that look like stars. Never question where you are. The sun sounds big, so it must be far.
The only thing balls have to do with the shape of the Earth is having the balls to admit it's flat.
I refuse to believe that I looked. Now I know. The Earth is flat and does not move.
The Earth is flat.
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 Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
Earth is flat.
We know the Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
Our Earth is flat.
The 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 Earth is flat.
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 Earth is flat. A big thank you to everyone who submitted. If you have any ideas for the next collaboration, put it down in the comments. Also, if you see someone who comments that they think the Earth is a ball, that's fine. But if you see them just spreading their hate, please flag the comment and mark it as hateful. Life is way too short to have to deal with haters. There are lots of other videos on YouTube. You can go watch one of those. So be kind, don't lie, and open your mind.
You don't care. Tell them space don't exist. You don't care.